Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Scrimmer Jones podcast, episode one. I'm your host, Zip Tie. Next to me, we have Novelist. We're just going to go over some CDL, like highlight some of the recent events, meta changes, roster changes, stuff like that. Hopefully, help you pick your bracket play for that 100K because I know you're trying to make that money. Um, and we're just going to go through it, see how it goes. Um, So to start off, we wanted to get into some of the roster changes that have went down recently and like our thoughts on them. Um, I know like the main one right now for champs, which is like a really big deal, is that um, you have Exceed going in for God RX, playing for the Minnesota Rocker. Um, what are your thoughts on it, Clay? Just
I think it's a bad move all around. Gotta X has kind of been the steady rock for them all season. Yeah, he's a little bit slower, a little bit older, but his experience in champs, I think, would have helped them succeeded.
well, I
Um,
mean, Exceed also has experience in champs. He's been through like I know he's been to the last one at least. I don't know how many he's went through altogether. I don't know his World War II history and stuff like that. But um, what Saint said was that Exceed brings a little bit of a higher pace to the game than what God RX is bringing. But in my opinion, I think God RX didn't really necessarily play slow. I feel like they just needed a chemistry change, and maybe they were just not vibing on with him with his recent performances. Him normally being that MVP discussion player online or before online, and then you get online and he's kind of like using excuses to an advantage, like this, you know, if it wasn't
lagged
online, I'd be doing
servers.
so much
Yeah, yeah,
better.
yeah.
Servers, all sorts of stuff like that. Um,
I
some
mean, in a way, I think that's true. I
Yeah,
think that's true. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but
no, you're good.
also, though, I don't know, man. I guess like I think this is just a bad move. Like I just got that gut feeling.
That
I
yeah, like that roster changes before champs aren't necessarily probably the best thing to do. Um,
yeah.
I kind of agree with that. Um, but not to get too stuck up on that. We can highlight some of the other changes with the other teams that and how we're feeling about those moves that they made during the season. I know
Oh,
that
I'm excited for this next one.
so
Oh,
So, just going down the going from most recent down to like at the very beginning of the season and our thoughts on it. Um, the next one would be Aches being dropped to a free agent from the Los Angeles Gorillas. So that rivalry of Aches and Slasher has kind of been removed. Um, Aches and Slasher have been going at it for like the past 3, maybe even 4 years, and ever since they started together, like it's been this big rivalry with also Aches versus Optic Gaming. It's always been like a big rivalry as well. I feel like as like a brand standpoint, that the Los Angeles Gorillas probably are losing out on a lot more than what they actually think they are. I know that they have really good coaches already, but Aches would have brought a lot of that to the table if they hired him as a coach or an analyst or something like that. And then also he's going to excel next game, I think, and make a good comeback. And then especially if they're going to do an academy team for next year, that's the person that I would want to be leading it because over his pickups through the years, he's picked up Karma, he's picked up Clayster, he's picked up a lot of the top tier amateur players and brought them on. Even as a recruiter, he is next to none at like recognizing talent. Um, but just letting him go as a free agent kind of seems sort of dumb to me. But I
I
understand you're
mean,
not using him right now, so
I
um,
mean, I think you'll see a big. This is going to be a reach. I don't know if it'd be true or not, but like I think you look at Dallas, right? You look at Dallas. Some of the higher teams this year. Like Aches has an eye for talent, like you was just stating. You know, Clayster, Karma, the handful of other ones you named already as well. I think you kind of see them pull a favor, get him in the as an academy like leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bad move, just
Yeah.
from the Gorilla standpoint. And in all honesty, unless Gorilla somehow makes a run here in champs, I think you'll see one of maybe one of the challenger teams contending for that spot to take from them next
Yeah,
year.
maybe even have Parasite join up. He played really well this whole entire year. And he's one of those leaders. I know he's not very well known in the community right now, but like for just his actual talent and development in getting the game, yeah, I mean, he's a former champs winner. Aches is a two-time champs winner. So I just think that for a branding standpoint, it's probably for the worst. As far as other thoughts that you have on the next one, it's Draza and Hollow going in for Optic. So you have Chino being placed on the bench and Dashi. Uh, Draza and Hollow have looked good so far, especially in the last event. I feel like Hollow brings a lot more knowledge to the table than what Dashi does, obviously. Maybe not like Chino, but um, maybe Chino just didn't have as much talent or like ceiling on this game, and like the belief in the team kind of like didn't really prevail him forward. And he had great vibes, I'm sure, with all the players because like he's is World War II team. He had Slasher, he had Kenny. They're two of his best friends. Um, and not hating on Chino, but he's one of the players that's gonna do anything for his team to win. Um, he runs, trophy. He'll run sub. He'll run AR. He's sort of gonna
Yeah,
do whatever it takes to win and not really put himself in a situation to succeed really on this team with Slasher wanting to run that main AR role, and then you also have Dashi, one of the most talented AR players, wanting to run that role as well. Um, Chino wasn't ever really set up to succeed on this team, except for the fact that he does have, Kenny and Slasher that they kind of brought him on just as he has like the potential to turn a team around. I mean, he had two good events. I think he had a fourth and a second. Is his only events, and
yeah,
that's sort of how he did last year, man. When he was on that E6 Black Ops 4 team, one of the best ARs I feel like that came out at the end game, and I think Chino always is going to be one of those like great AR players. And I mean later on he got picked up by Lenny's team. I forgot what their name was. I think it was Sicario. But I feel like one of the main points is that you're taking Dashi away from a second AR, and I think that was skeptical at least. Um,
I mean Dashy as a whole, like even on S&D maps, bro, Dashy was a presence.
yeah,
Sniper, sub, AR, he was always, trying to get that first blood, and I just don't know, like maybe Draza kind of fills that role now, but
he's more of a first blood player, and Tej is as well. Tej has always been known to get one of those first kills on the map, and like Dashi doing that as a sniper rifle. When you lose that, you still have Draza, and one of the other things that we're not taking into account here is Draza plays smoke, and he plays fast as like an entry sub.
that's true.
TJ is always, even like last year, he and Scump really didn't mesh well together because Scump's kind of like that second entry sub, and then Tej is also that second entry sub. That's what he plays best at. So this year he started out playing that entry sub. He really didn't have an event that he popped off yet. I think Champs is going to go very well for him. I think he's going to do his best based on the position that he's put in. That's
Yeah,
another thing we could have argued about with GodRx and Exceed. GodRx was probably the third best sniper statistics wise in the league, and now you have Exceed running that sniper role, and it just
honestly,
comes
I
into a
haven't.
little bit of a sketchy situation.
Is
Um,
Exceed running that sniper role though? I
yeah,
feel like I didn't
Yeah.
see him run it last event, but then again, that might not have been a sniper map.
No,
I
no.
can't rightfully remember.
He didn't run last event. He ran the event before that, and that was due to Alex being injured. He had I think he was just struggling with a little bit of like a wrist injury, and so Exceed came in. He played very well in the series that he did play, but I mean he's running a flex role or like more of a sub role, whereas now he's going to be running that second AR. I think people that you like a person that you need to look at to like swap in this situation was either Alex or Silly, in my opinion. If you were going to make a roster change at champs, and I mean I obviously wouldn't swap Silly. He's got a champs ring. He's got like I'm pretty sure besides that he has like at least one
Um,
second besides that.
I
But
yeah, I agree. I think Assault would have been like the more of the like choice out of the original starting five instead of God RX.
mm-hmm.
Sorry guys, got a little tongue tied there. Just because like Assault's been running, I'm pretty sure he's been running that
Main
like
AR,
second AR.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. He's
So
continue.
yeah, I was gonna say if you move God to that main spot, like if you don't think he's running fast, move him to that main spot. Let him play that slow AR push because he could easily hold his own on that. And then you bring in Exceed, make him that second fast AR,
Yeah,
let him run around the map, being himself, getting the kills, pushing out.
yeah. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that though because he's not ran that role all year, and he's not known necessarily. He's been a flex. He's been your AR Slayer. He's gonna get the most kills on the map and finish off what the sub presence is. Um, so I don't really want my like anchor person to be kind of swapped out there, but also at the same time though, Silly and Alex play really good, and so does your entry sub with
Asim, yeah.
yeah. So Asim is probably one of the most underrated players on this game. He's like really hard to kill. He's almost like a Shotzzy on the map, and he plays one of the fastest roles in the game. And I think that you couldn't drop him because he's your entry player. You couldn't really I mean it was up to either Silly and Alex, and Silly and Alex have played really good all year, like especially on the they've kind of like done the same as God RX, but it's probably in their best interest at the same time to either put Exceed into the best role that he's going to play, and that might have been the second AR role. Um, but moving forward from that,
Mm,
because I don't want to get stuck on it too much, I do want to
yeah.
say that, in my opinion, um, Dashy I would have left him. I mean, if he didn't have the vibes for the game, he didn't have the vibes for the game. But like, you gotta like, as a coach, you or and I know that they dropped Pac as well, Pac-Man, and he's probably one of the reasons that they got extremely better because he was making them probably take it a little bit more serious than what they wanted to. Um, I think that you have to get his mindset together where it's like, bro, like this is your opportunity going into next year's. It's not really gonna look good for you, especially with rumors last year being the kid that doesn't necessarily want to practice all the time and take it serious, and then you go into this year and you leave because you're not really interested in the game, um, and you're not really putting your voice into the game and learning, especially with Slasher on your team. I feel like it's kind of difficult, no matter what the talent is wise, to like I don't know get in that situation. Now he's just streaming. Of course, he's got a good following from the Optic brand already, but in my opinion, you need to put in, especially next year for him. He's got to put in more work ethic than anybody on one of these lists to regain where he was at the beginning of this year. He was probably like people's second pickup if they could, right? He
Oh yeah,
was the
hands down.
best probably Maddox player, and then Simp you might have would have edged him out because Simp played like godlike, and he's also a sniper, and he's also like just a straight up sub slayer, like the best sub slayer that you're gonna get. Um, and I mean, do you have any other thoughts on that for Dashi for Hollow? I think
No, no.
Draza makes sense. You needed a sub. You had Chino, and then you know,
Hollow was iffy. Like I get it. Like you need Hollow's a very good AR presence on the map.
yeah, for sure.
Like he's a good flex AR slayer. Just from the past few events I've got to watch him. I think both of those very well could push Optic going far in the champs this year for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
and
I think what happened to Chino. I just want to touch on the Chino thing.
yeah,
Is you kind of pointed it out. Like he was the dirty works man, right? He was doing everything for the team. Whatever they needed, he done it. If they told him to go get spawns, he got the spawns.
yeah.
But sometimes that just doesn't fit into the comp team play. And I'm not saying that it didn't work for him because obviously it did for half the year
Or
before he
yeah,
or
his
half the
events that he
season.
went to.
Yeah, right. Like it worked for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, it. I mean, it just sucks to see that because, like you said, bro, he has good team comp with the other players on that team, Slasher,
Yeah,
and
and
so
that's I definitely agree with that. But I kind of want to keep moving forward because I don't want to take too much time on the. We're
yeah.
just kind of giving you the outlook of the year and what changed and what we liked about it and what we didn't like about it. The
So
next team I would like to touch on is probably the Seattle Surge. They had a naval swap in and out for Pander. Everybody knows that. And then you also have Proto uh, taking Karma's spot when he legit didn't want to play the game anymore, hated the game because the especially the online aspect of it, and just the developer not listening to the players. So he's retired. He might come back eventually. In my opinion, I don't see him coming back because of his brand being as big as what it is. It's kind of like that Scump deal. If I see Scump leave in the upcoming years, I don't think he'll ever come back, even if he's like an all-star player and he could win every event. He's just gonna make more money on the stream-based side of it. Um, but what did you think about Pander and Enable and Proto and the roster swaps that Seattle made?
Seattle has, bro, you're swapping 3 out of your 5 players off rip on one day.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get the karma situation though as well. Like, you want the devs to like listen to a little, just a tiny bit
Mm-hmm.
going into it. Obviously, he's just kind of tired. I think he's just kind of didn't want to play this game. I think we will see him next year. Whatever this new COD coming out is, it's still going to be boots on the ground. I believe is the rumor right now. Um, but saying this, like you said, Karma has enough following on just streaming alone. He does not have to play it anymore unless he just wants to.
Yeah, and he plays a lot of other games too. But as far as the
At,
roster
at
swaps go, I think that that Karma leaving really helped the initial dynamic of the team. Right,
yeah,
was
he's
obviously
not bringing them down.
yeah. Well, it obviously was meaning for Octane to run main AR. He's always been. He's never going to change. Then you
Yep.
had Karma as your second AR player that you're probably signed for, and then Slacked was probably your flex. Your second sub was who am I leaving out here? Apathy. He's always going to be main sub. Especially, you can see a lot out of him for champs. He always excels a lot. And your entry sub being Enable. That's a really good respawn team in a 2AR meta. I think if they waited it out a little bit to where the MP5 got nerfed, I think it would have still been a little bit better for them in that spot. But as far as like the roster changes go, Pander, he's looked good in some events. He's definitely a second AR. I feel like he fits that role very well, but he's not necessarily a talent that they could have got from the AM scene. I think this team, I would have loved for them to pick up Hollow, Cells, or any, even Parasite. Um, just because, like, that's somebody that can excel uh, for the end of the year. I mean, they were 2 events away from securing that top 8 spot, and instead they finished 11th because they failed to, you know, do good in the last 2 events. Whereas like Ultra was right down there with them, and they picked themselves up with getting the win. Pender and Proto fit the roles good. Uh, because Proto is an entry sub. He kind of does the same thing as what Enable does. Um, but I don't really like how they did Enable with him swapping pretty much mid series. They didn't like him in respawn because he dropped like a .7. But like this man didn't even practice during the week. Like he practiced like one day during the week, and then you throw him in a main stage event, online. He's not gonna
Well,
bring the
so
intensity. But yeah, you can go ahead.
no, I was gonna say here's the thing about enabled is I'm pretty sure as of right now he is on the bench. I'm pretty sure he's a sub.
No, he is. He is. He's a substitute.
Yeah.
But I'm saying 2 events ago, when this roster change actually went into effect, uh, Panda and him were kind of like they were like, well, let's throw Enable in for respawn because he can be that entry sub player, and then you can run Karma as that second AR or like middle tier guy, and it really just didn't mesh well because Panda knew all like their call outs and their strategy throughout the map, and like Enable was thrown in one day of practice, and then they're like, well, he did good in the one day because he's been playing tens and stuff, and he slayed probably a little bit better. Let's try him in the event, and then he gets one map chance, and it's like, guys,
Boom. Yeah, like
this is
it ain't
from
gonna work.
yeah, exactly. He'll do extremely well next year. I guarantee he probably gets off of a team and moves into somebody else. He just didn't fit this team good based on the meta that was provided. Um, Anything else you have Seattle before I go and talk about like the LA Gorillas a little bit?
Okay, before we get into the LA Grills, we kind of get skipped the whole Toronto situation. Um,
Well, I'm just going by teams. That one, there's so many different roster swaps. I was kind of gonna do that
well,
one
yeah.
last.
Okay. As long as we get, cause I'm looking at this and I'm low key kind of upset for my boy Classic
Yeah.
because
I mean, he's just still on the starting roster now.
he is now. He is now. Yes. But I think if they made a certain move like early in the year instead of taking him off, right, because they put him as a sub like early on
Towards
in the year.
not
Early.
necessarily. So they traded him with Kleenex at the second to last event, and I think it was mainly due to practice issues, him going back home, and also like some other stuff that we don't know about in the scene going on. Maybe just his mental, what he was bringing
Yeah.
to the game type stuff. He is known to be one of the best practicers. He's going to put it all down on the line in practice, and then if he doesn't see that go transition into you know the actual events, he kind of loses full. Um, but I just want to move on to LAG Gorillas because it's a more of a simpler. Just they pretty much demolished the
The,
whole roster,
yeah.
and
Scrapped
then
it. Come back
at the
new.
beginning of the
Hopefully
year,
trying
yeah.
to get something going.
And I mean,
Uh,
it technically worked a little bit for them. They did have that event where they almost beat FaZe. That would have got them a top two, and the vibes probably would have been going a lot better for them towards champs. Um, but
was that also the LA home series as well?
I don't think so. I think it was. Let me pull it up here. It,
Because I know it was close. I remember. No, it was Optic that got to the LA home series actually.
I think it was the Minnesota second event. Um, that's what they did. They did good. They lost to Atlanta FaZe, a map 5, and I mean that they had a great chance of winning that series because they played. I'm pretty sure they played Mutineers earlier and stole a map from them, but they kind of knew what Mutineers was bringing to the table, and they were kind of running. Uh, their playstyle was suited better for the Florida Mutineers, I think, than FaZe was in this matchup. I think that they were running more of like a 3 AR setup. Like when it like the MP5 was transitioning into they nerfed Merc foregrip for this event. It wasn't as great as a gun, whereas like FaZe, they just like they're so fast on the map and they're so fast paced that it almost seems like they have another player. Um, but um,
The movement from FaZe, like if you just sit down and look at it, like you would think that they're playing like with four hands
yeah,
because it's just so fluid and they
Abeezy's really
never
fast, Simp's really fast, Celium's fast on the map. They just got
and you
all
never
fast players.
yeah, like, and you never see one stop moving. Like I remember watching one of the series, S&D. This man was just literally sliding back and forth inside of the vent
Yeah,
on Gun Runner, and I'm just like, what is he doing? Like I thought he was maybe trying to bait. No, this man was just trying to ego chow anyone who would step to him.
yes,
And
yes, and he
sure enough, he got. If I remember right, he got the last 2 kills. Beezy is insanely good. Simp, same thing.
yeah.
It's just they're nasty.
Yeah. So going back to the LAG Gorillas, the last move that they made was for Spark for Saints. Obviously, the first change was they put they took Aches, as well as who else was it? Aches, Lacefield, and Saints were all off the roster. Obviously, they kept Aqua and Decimate. Um, the two, I guess, more I think they put more effort into the game at the beginning of the year because of Aches kind of didn't just in the fact that he knew that the game was going to change a whole bunch and he didn't really practice with the team or everybody didn't practice as a team and then when it came to the first event they were like well this is chalked and Spark in my opinion at the beginning of the year was probably one of the best individual standout amps. I saw him in Search and Destroy doing extremely well. Saints, though, whenever he stepped up into the Pro League limelight, he kind of just didn't have the same intensity. I don't know if it was just like the team that he was playing with or what, but in my opinion, the Saints move was for the better. I also never count out Lacefield because, in my opinion, that dude is one of the best search and destroy players in the game, no matter what the game is. I'm pretty sure I watched him. The last match that he played was a Peakadilly, and he was literally putting the team on his back with the sniper. All his nade shots were correct. He'd pick up other guns and just he was frying that map. Uh, and in my opinion, he's one of the best slayer. He was one of the best slayers even towards last year. He was doing very well. And
Yeah,
I think that just the old, they saw they were the one of the first teams that saw the younger players have a little bit more of a limelight. And I mean, so many pickups this year have went good for the younger players that collectively they thought it was the best move, and then he just didn't really seize the opportunity that he had in front of him. And then Saints jumped back in the lineup. He's been running tens all year, been playing good. He's always been pretty good MP5 player on this game, and I think it's good for them going into the end of the year. The only problem is they're playing Optic right off rip, and I don't know how that's gonna go. Uh,
yeah, I totally agree. Optics chilling. I mean, they've had what like 4 weeks now of practiced with together,
yeah,
and
and
like that first week, that first home series
they were
online,
already doing good.
they was already doing good.
Yeah,
So yeah, bro, it's gonna be exciting to see what happens, but I think ultimately, I think Optic just kind of outshines them.
and LAG might have to do a lot more roster changing for next year, but there's a lot of players out there that you can go after.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
So let's talk about Florida next. I'm just going down the
Oh,
list
so
here a little bit,
so can we do two at one time?
I guess.
Because I feel like these two happen like very simultaneously.
Which ones?
Huntsman and Florida.
We can do both of those, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they kind of like interlap with one another.
100%. So, what the main one that he's talking about is the Prestini move from Florida Mutineers back to his twin
Breaking
brother
my heart.
at Huntsman. Yeah, big Mutineers fan over there. But I feel like, well, mainly a Prestini fan,
Yeah, 100% Pristini fan, man.
and I think
He's
that
golden.
I think he literally took over the event before he decided to bench himself due to dirt, like,
The pandemic
yeah,
start, yeah.
pandemic. Your mental isn't always going to be 100%, especially you're doing the same thing in your chair all the time. There's not really an active life. All your gyms are shut down. You really have all this built up energy, and like when things aren't going right, you're detrimental to your team. And he said that even when he came over to the Huntsman, that he was being a detriment to his team. That's why he benched himself. um, but they also dropped Mox for Awakening. um, I felt like,
Very, that was surprising to me.
see, I felt like it was surprising too, but they needed something different. Awakening's more of a faster player than Mox is. Everybody knows that. Mox isn't as good with an MP5 as what Awakening's going to bring to the table. But in my opinion, though, at the same time, Mox they could have did a nasty trade for. I'm thinking about ARs in the league right now. I'm thinking Paris. Like, I know Denz is really good, and I think that they were probably
Yeah.
satisfied with him. But you have Denz in that second AR role. He's just as good. You can move Luca to the flex role, and then your subs are already solidified. Kismet and who am I thinking of right now? My man's from Reciprocity last year.
Uh, Hold on one second, I'll be able to tell you.
We played with him before in game.
Um, Not Dens. Oh God, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt me. I
It's hurting me
remember.
right now because we played in CDL with him before. Uh, but anyways, still going back to that, and while he looks him up for me, and I freaking lose fool. Uh, I think that, in my opinion, that would have been a good place for them, or just some of the other ARs in the league that are struggling a little bit. The numbers are gonna all obviously be a little bit better for them and be harder for them to swap, just because the AR is gonna have the best like kill death ratio on the map. But Mox is a great anchorer. I mean, you think about his time at Gingy, he literally in Search and Destroy and other stuff. I think he was the main, like him and Envoy set the team apart a little bit. Nagafin's gonna always do like your dirty work and be that pretty good flex role. He's consistent in respawn. He knows what to do in search and destroy and make the plays. Last year, and I think that, but those two people were the talents, and you taking him to a sub role now, it's gonna be really hard for you guys to maintain a good relationship with him. And like, say next year is a really heavy AR
AR,
game,
yeah, man.
he's gonna
Well,
be really good. And then obviously, if you put him on an academy or something like that, he's getting picked up off of an academy team. He's gonna go somewhere else, and
I
you
I
already
mean,
burnt that bridge with him in a sense. And I don't know if that's gonna pay off in the end. Um, and but I understand in this game you got to do what put your best foot forward. They won 3 events, so you can't really tell them like, hey, that
yeah,
was a
you
bad
can't.
move. But at the same time, though, going into champs, you have a lot of a less experienced team. Um, Pharaoh
By
still really really good. That's the other pickup I failed to mention. You have Pharaoh, and he picked up for Prestini when Prestini benched himself, and then Prestini went to Huntsman to pretty much have his brother on his team. Uh, his brother kind of can calm him down in those stressful situations because both of them are very vocal players. Um, where it's kind of hard to be on the Huntsman because you have two of the most popular streamers, popular players, and if like just how Gunless did, man, he kind of burnt bridges in that community right off rip because he's gonna raise his voice if you're playing wrong. He knows what you're doing wrong, and if you're never responding to
Mhm.
things that need to be changed, Gunless is gonna call you out for it. He's gonna get upset, and then eventually, if it's just being, if it's fail, you're failing to execute it. He's just like gonna chalk it. He's just gonna play his
Abs-
role, get his kills, and we're gonna lose. And he's gonna be upset about it, and he's just gonna play the best that he can on the map because that's the only thing that he can do.
exactly, and I think that's what started this whole Pristini to Huntsman.
Oh,
I think
100%.
100%, yeah. Especially after winning that home series against them, were I think it was the last home series that was
They lost
LAN.
out to the Florida Mutineers, and I think Gunless needs to be that limelight role on your team. He needs to be the flex player, and he's going to get you all the kills on the map. You got to let him do what he wants, and even if you kind of got to have him and the coach work together to make the team best as possible around him.
Yeah,
Whereas Prestini was like a filler player that he's going to do the necessary steps to win. He's going to go out that extra mile, whereas like everybody else is just going to not
yeah.
necessarily stat
Um,
pad, but play their roles really individually great. Um, but what else? Do you have anything else that you want to recollect on that?
I was just gonna say, the player we was thinking of for Paris is Zed. Because
Zed,
Zed,
yes.
as he,
Zed fried
we should,
us.
well, we should remember his name because he absolutely demolished us in
He
that
joined
like
late in a
cave.
game and still dropped 40 something kills. But like
Yeah,
another thing that I want to say is like Gunless plays pub CDL right now and he's dropping like 80 a game, joining in
yeah.
late to like a
Join.
240 loss and still winning on YouTube. You should check those videos out, to be real with you. And I want to keep moving forward though because I feel like we're taking a lot of time on this.
Yeah, we are.
But it is a recollect episode of the year, so we kind of want to give our thoughts on everything just so our viewers out there can understand what's going on, because the whole CDL is like a story in itself. From starting at something, this is the first year of the CDL. We've had a lot of great storylines, and this is a big part of it. Having players that are coming from the amateur scene and propelling themselves into stardom, essentially. It's crazy to see how these rosters are going, and then obviously we're gonna have a lot to talk about after champs to see if some of these worked or if we feel like the older rosters generations would have been a better option to go with. Um,
um,
Go
so
ahead.
I got one last thing on the Mox
Yeah,
situation. I think with the new meta that just recently came out,
yeah,
going into the champs, for the people at home who do not know what the new meta is, it's typically 2 ARs now, maybe 3 depending on the map, like Cave. Cave actually you could run 4
yeah,
even if you feel comfortable with it. Um, but even with the new 2 AR meta, I think Mox could have filled in that second AR role for Florida because I mean now you're looking at, okay, so subs are still going to fry you up close, but their hip fire isn't what's going to beat you, right? So
yes,
you could still kind of outgun skill a sub player with the M4, and I
yeah.
feel like Mox had a lot of that beforehand.
But see, Pharaoh plays faster, and he's more of
That's true.
the flex
Yeah,
role,
absolutely.
and if you take him away, then you're taking somebody else off the team, and like who are you taking off? Because Havoc is your search and destroy star. He literally has like one of the fastest
He's
aces
literally won games
by
by
himself in
himself.
search and destroy, like going through smokes, flying at him really fast. I think that's why Prestini didn't excel well at the towards the end of towards the beginning and the end of his
Yeah,
stint
100%.
at the Mutineers. And Pharaoh
Like
is a really good search and destroy player. He's a great sniper. They didn't really have a great sniper on that team, in my opinion. I know that like Skies runs it sometimes, and there's different players that can that I mean every player, if you're a professional player, you're gonna have like a decent sniper game because you play search and destroy, you play wagers with
yeah.
these other guys, and you're gonna have to fill the role eventually. And it's just some of these players is free time, that's what they like to do. They I mean Dashy came up as a straight up competitive sniper. A lot of the other players like Simp,
Seems still a nasty sniper, bro. I don't care.
Arcides, he grew up. They played competitive snipe games of Search and Destroy.
Illy, bro.
Yeah.
God, some of
So
the nasty snipers of the
yeah.
game right now.
So yeah, I feel like you had two of the essentially the like search and destroy veterans that knew how to like be very fast players, but at the same time you needed somebody to slow down and win the maps for you, and that's what Pharaoh did, and that's how they got their first win. Um, Going into the next roster move that we want to talk about, I think it would be. I think all we have left is really Toronto. Nobody really else made too many changes. I know the London Ravens picked up Zero for a one-for-one Jerd trade, and everybody knows that New York Subliners picked up Mac, just because Mac it was one dominating the M scene. He had four different offers before he joined the New York Subliners. He was going to go to even Optic Gaming. He was literally about, you know, I'd say a day away from flying out to Optic, and he got the call from Zuma and Revan, and they just ended up, meshing really well together. They were exactly what the subliners needed at the beginning of the year. A player that's going to be really fast, entry player, and then now even he's probably one of the better players of the years. He's had some chokes in Search and Destroy and stuff. I know, like the Scuff
Yeah,
1v1s, he's lost two of them that were pretty crucial, and he got roasted about it. But
yeah,
he was really great. I think with that team, it was another one of those situations where Zero is a very good second AR or main AR. That's what he's played last year to the best of his ability. He kind of got back into, stardom from running the main AR so well on that phase roster. And at the beginning of the year, when he was with the rest of the, Scraps, Wuskins, uh, the twin brothers, the EU, scene, he had a run sub and he was not doing very well at it. And then you put him in the same position over here. He was running entry sub for New York, and it was just not putting him in a situation to where he could succeed. He's not a very good entry sub. He's a very good secondary sub. He's one of the best players in all roles. But they
yeah,
were playing so slow. He was literally costing them because he was throwing his life at nothing a lot of the times. And I feel like they knew that. They got the team chem back with Mac and propelled them to the fifth best team in the league. And I think that they're still stuck at that. And the same thing with the Ravens. Zero propelled them back up. Jerd was playing, I think, essentially too fast, and they even had to put Dylan in that role. And Dylan is like the main sub. He was a god last year, the
and
best
I mean
player in EU, in my
he's
opinion.
been he's been killing it this year as well.
Yes, yes, and I mean he's hitting form for champs, and the problem with the whole situation was, like, if you have Dylan as an entry sub, man, I know he can do some stuff, but I just don't think that him and Jerd meshed well together. They weren't on the same team last year, whereas like Zero and him have sort of had that chemistry a little bit better to push certain situations and be fast on the map and propel their game a lot. I think that their search and destroy is also very, very good.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one of the swaps that they did. I don't think. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we move on? Oh yeah, the Toronto on
No, yeah,
Ultra.
the Toronto. So I get that if Classic was like losing full or whatever, getting into his own head as I'm sure a lot of us do.
Yeah,
Me especially. Like it's game over if I start losing full in my head.
yeah,
But but if they just thought that his like game skills wasn't up to par, I think he's kind of when he came back to the starting lineup over medals.
yeah,
I think he just kind of like showed, hey, I'm not a pushover. Let me show you what I really can do.
yeah.
And he has absolutely been killing it.
I think
The
he's one of the main players that they should have had in the lineup all year. I think
yes,
him and Methods together, because I like the whole having two 5-man rosters, especially this next year. You're going to be able to run one as an academy team and the other team as a full starting roster. And
yes,
I think that they set up for having. They knew that Methods was going to be a main AR.
mhm,
And then also Methods would be somebody that until this last event, I would have swapped out for a Mox or Dashy or somebody that wanted to run main
Kleenex,
AR. Yeah,
um,
Kleenex is still in the starting roster, uh,
yeah,
but I think that they finally got the comms right in that team because I think that's the only thing that they were struggling with. Every single team that they played because they have such good practice with the other five, and the other five being a very good team. If they were able to run academy this year, there's no doubt that they would have won everything, in my opinion. Um, but I
And that's scary to think about going into next year that you have 10 essentially like such good people that you could just like, oh, okay, well then we're just gonna do a full team swap and see how it works out.
Yeah, especially for next year. And I think that they proved this year that it was something that good because I feel like they're one of the top teams going into the end of the year. But also at the same time, there's rumors that they were doing the start glitch, and they were one of the first teams that found it out.
Ah,
And I think that that, in my opinion, that's. I mean, I'll tell you about my bracket eventually going down the run, but uh, that's the only thing I worry about. If there was like the comms were the issue, maybe it was somebody flying out and trying to press that pause button and get locations on the map and tell everybody, and he's just not being able to uh, reiterate
over
everything and
and
that fast.
overloading comms too, bro. Like to me, that's tragic. If you have one person trying to call out every member of the other team on the map, like it's not gonna work, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Because let's say there's a gunfight going down on the other side of the map, that person loses fools tries to do the start glitch at the time before it was patched, this past set of patches that went through. You know, then you have two people trying to overtalk one another to give out information. And I don't think that was the case. I think yes, they did. That was one of the first teams who brought it up and mentioned it. Um, do I think they was using it? Maybe. Do I think like they was the only team using it? No.
No, I definitely agree with that. But um, as far as them going into later in the year, I think that essentially we have a team that has either the capability of falling out immediately or being very very good, and they made roster moves all year, and I think that each one of those excelled them at one angle that they understood, and um, besides that, it sort of, this last iteration has to prove that they were the best at the end of the year, or, the people on the bench are going to be like, well, you would have thrown me in there. Because Looney, especially, I feel like he brings a lot to a team, a champs team in general, and he's very vocal. He knows how to play the game. He's one of the people that picks it up and is one of the smartest in the game and knows how to do everything and
Yeah.
what needs to go right on the map and what needs to go wrong on the map.
Even
So it's saying
Mayhem.
a lot benching him. Yeah, Mayhem same way. Very smart player, very very skilled, fast player. Um, and as far as we go, we can sort of move into more of the meta change now. What we have is um, so far this year we've had a few. I think GA's really changed the game more than necessarily bans from CDO because we really don't have developers input. Um, because like we didn't even have Merc foregrip and some of the other stuff banned when they went down, and Gentleman's Agreement kind of makes it as fun of an experience to watch. So right now, what is banned is you have the AUG. I don't really necessarily think that there's really. Is there any other guns? I
I
mean, your normal guns like your LMGs and you know,
it was mostly just the AUG from my understanding, and then obviously any like bottle end
like
gun.
every game GA is the
Yeah.
same set of guns that are overpowered. Um, and
Honestly, the AUG even being GA now, I don't think it's viable because you have 10 mil back, which was previously GA'd, right?
well, it depends though because the AUG was getting some very crazy kills, like mid-range two bullet
Oh,
kills when
I
the dude
know.
wasn't weak at all. So I think that if they kept it at N and it wasn't still GA'd now, that you might have seen 4 different guns being used on the map at the same time. You might have had an
Would
AUG, a
yeah.
RAM, or maybe even 5, because you even have an AN94 that you can use now. That's a very, very
I
good weapon.
no, that's getting GA'd before champs, in my opinion.
I
Because
I don't I don't that
it
don't
it,
matter to me, man. I
it's
like seeing different guns.
yeah. I mean, I do too. Like, we've had past discussions, just jokingly, like talk about the Kilo as an anchoring AR.
Yeah, because it's very good at range, and
Yeah,
the
and it shoots straight. It's a laser,
yeah, and
and
Azir is a very big map, and that's why we have 4 right now, in my opinion. Going forward a little bit more though, so right now there's 2 really main metas. It's a 2 MP5s on most maps, and then you have your 1 map Azir Cave. You're gonna run maybe 4 on. We've seen players still run 2 because
not MP5s, M4s. You said MP5s.
oh, my bad. I flip flopped them. But I'm
Yep.
saying you have four M4s, 4 ARs on Azir, and eventually, I mean, you could see 2 MP5s, but mainly it's outdated because of so many different range spots that people can hit on you, and the M4 is very good in close range situations still. Um, and in my opinion, I think that this is a better meta than what we had in the past, but
hmm
because the MP5 was so good, but at the same time, though, um, I would have liked to see a little bit of a nerf to the M4 just to make it more viable or less viable in close range situations. So when we have, um,
What
M4s
would have been the
gunning
nerf for
close,
you for the M4?
just
Because
like the firing rate, I mean, the M4 and the MP5 have the same firing rate, and it's
yeah.
difficult to get in close quarter situations and if you lose a gunfight with a guy with an M4, it's kind of you're stressed. Whereas like in previous games, if you got into a gunfight with a sub close range, you're probably losing that gunfight unless he misses shots. Right now, that's not the case. Like 2 people could hit their shots and it be one of those second decisions where it's like who gets the kill, and the M4 might get the kill sometimes, and because
Yeah.
it's the same pace. And then you also have headshot multiplier in this game, which messes things up in my opinion
Well,
too.
so
Go ahead.
mid-season, did they not nerf the headshot for the M4 though?
I think they
The
nerfed the
multiplier.
headshot multiplier in CDL in general. Like that's one of the their
Yeah, that
CDL
was the
settings that they
biggest
have.
complaint.
But I don't think that there's not too much of a difference, especially not in pubs at least. Um, but as far as going forward, we do have we see the RAM running as a flex roll now sometimes, and then you also have the AN94. Octane was using it, but it's a very very viable weapon for long range situations, and it has less recoil than I think any of the guns in general. Just because it's just being brought new onto the scene, it's very viable. So you have all these different guns. We're going to see different metas at champs, and I hope that whoever masters the gun the best and knows the game the best wins champs. And I think that even if you're on losers bracket, like I do hate that we don't figure this stuff out at the beginning of the game, so you have the whole year to develop it. But at the same time, though, it's entertaining as a spectator watching these professionals learn these guns last minute and
Yeah.
bring their best game to the table. Because this whole year, that's thrown away, bro. Like you're playing one bracket. I mean, you've seen it. You've seen it time and time and again recently. Upsets happen. Crazy things happen because players step their game up to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
And
all year. This year has probably been the craziest year for Call of Duty as a whole.
yes, and GA's tax sprint is a big thing. I know we have cheating and stuff like that's being looked into, but we have cameras and everything, and I'm sure that they're checking settings in game before people
No,
go in. And I just don't
don't.
think that anybody's using auto tax
Yeah,
sprint anymore in the professional scene. Um,
I
because it
mean,
does make it really easy to play on their skill, like closer to their skill level, because you're so much faster on the map. Um, but I'm not meaning to talk over you, man. Like you can take the floor. Um,
oh, I was just gonna say, on the whole cheating thing, I don't want to start on that because my man Awakening getting called out. over some
Yeah,
dumb stuff,
he's not
bro.
cheating. Uh,
No, this man
there's too
like
much competitive integrity too. I don't even know if the
yeah,
start glitch was used with Ultra. People just say it because of certain situations that they got in game. Crim
that's true.
Six is like the big guy. You know, he's got a big following, and he called them out on some stuff, and it just sort of happens that way. As far as let's talk, let's move forward a little bit.
Yeah, let's get to the standings, bro. I'm sure people don't want to keep hearing us rant and rave on our opinions.
About that type of stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, if it comes out to be true, it is what it is. You know, the year's pretty much over. We're at the end of the year. Um, I'm excited for champs. I'm very filling out my bracket. I'm scared to make any moves.
Yes, and
I don't know
especially
who's
with the
getting
map.
3-0'd or
Yeah,
going to game 5.
yeah,
Like, there's
exactly. So, so far the rankings at the end of the year, we're in playoff time now, and then the actual champs day will be the top four next weekend. Uh, Currently, we have Atlanta FaZe with 280 points first, uh, Dallas in second, followed by the Mutineers, Huntsmen, and Subliners, Ravens, Ultra, and Rocker, and you also have the Los Angeles Optic following them in ninth, and then you have Legion, Surge, and Gorillas rounding you out in 12th. Um, Most disappointing, I think, you see on the list, you see Octane in 11th. He hasn't had the best team all year, but I feel like he can make a run now because he's going to put in the effort and he's going to be one of the best players at in game with Slasher. Um, and our matchups for this evening, or well, tomorrow, when probably today when you guys are seeing this, is going to be the Optic Gaming Los Angeles uh, squad playing against the Los Angeles Gorillas. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
LA versus LA.
LA versus LA, and then whoever gets wins this round gets eliminated, and you have the LA bragging rights. And as far as the 10th and 11th seed, you have the Surge and the Legions. The only reason that the Surge have the 11th seed over the Gorillas is their head-to-head matchup has been better against them. So, in your opinion, what do you think about these matches? What do you think is going to go down, map count wise, and
Oh
everything?
man. You and me have talked about this in private multiple times. We've argued about it for hours. Probably gonna do it right now, but we're gonna make it short and sweet. First match, Optic Gorillas. I I think it's not gonna be like how it was when they first met at the LA home series,
Reverse
right?
sweep, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's completely different now. Optic's new starting lineup, I think soars them above Gorillas so much more now than
yeah.
what it was then. So I'm giving Optic 3-0 off rip over Gorillas, and then I think Gorillas is just gonna wipe their team again in the off season and just rebuild and hopefully come back stronger and not get kicked out of the CDL and move down to challengers.
Uh,
I'm hoping that doesn't happen to them.
I think there ever is a relegation, bro. We never talked about that, but I don't think that there will
Yeah.
be anytime recently. I hope that there's more teams next year that get to be under franchise.
Oh,
But I'm
100%.
going to be devil's advocate on this, all right? Because I think that this game is going to be a lot closer than what you guys think it's going to be. The LA team has progressed better online than they have in the past, and this squad is a top tier search and destroy team. As much as what you could believe it or not believe it, they're going to bring all their strats to the table. They still a respawn off this series, and I do see this actually going to the Gorillas. But um, agreeing with you at the same time, the squad that LA Optic has right now, with Draza and Hollow being the young guns, they're grinding for next year. They want to be on one of these teams.
Oh, they want a
They're
ring.
they
They're
want to
hungry
they
for it.
want to ring even because you got slasher vibes with you, and this man you can't count him out. Never
Never.
count out. So, in my opinion, I do see Optic winning this. I think that Gorillas are going to do some weird vetoes and they're going to get the search and destroy map that they want. And they might show us some stuff that we've never even seen before on the map. And
That's true,
they
man.
could pull out that search and destroy dub. I see it as a 3-1. I think these games are going to be a lot closer because everything's on the line. And, when everything's on the line and you're going to get eliminated, you're going to see some crazy stuff happen.
Yeah,
As
I
far
mean,
as the
maybe.
next matchup, Paris
I want
Legion
your
versus
opinion
Seattle
first on
Surge.
this. This is
Oh,
where you and me differ. This is
okay.
where we argue.
So this is a big argument for us. I got Seattle Surge, and the reason being, you have apathy, right? He just had a kid. All right, so I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give it to you straight in, into the camera. He
Man, out here
just
googling
had a
IRL
kid.
stuff.
No, no, no. I know this man. I know this man like
No,
he's my brother. Okay,
he's
nah, just
he's
kidding.
he's his next door neighbor. Like,
I
come on
wish,
now.
but he just had a kid. He's got the dad fucking strength. When you just have a kid, you turn into something unreasonable. Like you got dad
Mm.
powers. I've seen it in the motocross industry. I've seen it in gaming industry. I've seen it in everything. Then you have, as well as right, he just got married. He's in App Champs form. App has, he's going for his third ring, folks. The only person that has 3 rings is Karma, and he's retired. And he's not. He was on his team. You would have a 4 ring and a 3 ringer if they would have won. And this season hasn't panned out to what it's been. But App's at final form is like a Dragon Ball Z reference that I don't know because I haven't watched it. Okay,
First of
this
all, this kid.
I'm telling you right now, bro. He is going to be overpowered. He's going to take it to this Paris Legion team. Zed, this ain't CWL pubs, brother. He's going to dominate. Okay, he's the
Oh
man on this
man.
team. He is going to win every respawn. They're going to even pick up the search in this game. To be real with you, no,
Oh,
I'm capping on that. Paris played
you
way
are
too
capping
good.
on that, bro.
Paris
You
played
get
way
that
too
out of
good
here.
on every single map last game, but I think that's a lot on Kismet and Zed getting entry kills, and it's gonna be really hard to do against this team. You got your Overwatch with Octane. You got App being a sub dominator. The only thing I'm worried about a little bit is the amount of effort that they're gonna put in because they don't like this game. Proto, too.
Mm-hmm.
He's been inconsistent a little bit, but he's only had a few shots to actually see him, and he was one of the vibe bringers to this team. He made it so it wasn't a let's talk about how the Surge are and their lack of practice and their bad comms and all this stuff. He made it into we're having good comms and we're winning these games. And I mean, they've been close at the end of the year. The maps that they played have been really close. They should have beat Atlanta FaZe. They've gotten joked on a lot of games, and
Yeah.
they're angry. They have something to prove, and this is the time to prove it. You know what I'm saying? Um, as
I mean,
well as
when you have Twitter going on fire about free Octane, I,
yeah.
every other player on that team should be fired up, along with
Oh, Slacked is, I know. Slacked has been roasted all year. They've said, like, bro, like, this dude just doesn't perform. He didn't perform last year. Him and John and that Luminosity team were capping. And at the end of the year, what did Luminosity do? They upset 100 Thieves. Sent them to losers right off rip, where they had to
yeah.
play the other, in my opinion, whoever won this game was getting, like, fourth to second, right? They played FaZe. And they did the unthinkable, one of the most historic runs I've ever seen in history. And in and you have Octane that was a part of that team, and even I mean I know Enable's a sub now, and he kind of hates the situation he was put in, but he brings some vibes, man, and I think that he'll root for this team too, and I think I just think that everybody on this team is going to be really fired up. I'm worried about Pander, worried about Proto, but the rest of the team, they might carry it themselves, carry Paris Legion on their back. And I like the Paris team too, though, man. I feel like they proved a lot with this roster. And at the beginning of the year, if you had Paris Legion being like in the top 8 for until the last, season, and then they get second in their event, to go out,
Yeah, man, that's a
you
tough one
you're
to go
impressed by
out.
this team. 100 points, and
So
nobody on this team is a standout star. Den's, I mean, he's like a comedian, but he's not been known as like a godly tier
Okay.
Call of Duty player, except maybe in Black Ops 3 or something that I'm a little bit overlooking.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kismet was like not very known at the time coming in.
I
Like
mean,
he was.
I know him the most from World War II. He choked. They choked their LCQ spot to get in champs at
Yeah.
World War II, and you think that's kind of crazy. Then who else do we have?
We
Um,
got Luca, Shock, Zed. I mean, they're all real quiet players.
I mean,
Um.
the Aussie squad, bro. They've always been good enough to like hang with them, but
Mhm.
you always kind of were like, oh, it's an Aussie team, NA's gonna beat them, or oh, it's an Aussie team, EU's gonna beat them, and then they make some surprise runs sometimes, and
Okay.
they impress. And but at
Saying that, I need a score from you.
oh, definitely 3-1, probably Seattle Surge, but I could see this going either way as well. Paris is really good at stealing one of those respawn maps and then winning games 2 and 5. Uh, and this Seattle team is progressively known as not being a surge squad. In my opinion, though, they have practiced this and they have been in close games with the better half of the league teams and in search recently. And I think they know what they're doing. You have Nubsy as the coach. Think back to Nubsy with that Genji squad. S and
Yeah,
D's
but
pro
that's
S&D was there.
yeah.
He could put Spacely in, and they were godly at S&D, and then he would sub out Spacely and put freaking Nagafin in, and they were godly at respawn because they don't make the mistakes that most players make in the decisions where like in search and destroy it's split second decisions where it's like, all right, I get this first blood, I play my life, I win the round.
Yeah.
In respawn, it's I get the kills in the right spots. It's a lot of like faster thinking, like pace type stuff, right? It's kind of hard to get people programmed in both either being really good at S&D or really good at search. It's always been like one or the other. But in my opinion, he's going to coach them in the right direction, and that's what's going to be the what what's going to set them apart from Paris Legion in here. They could even steal the Surge in my opinion and win a 3-0 off of these guys just because their talent ceiling is bigger. I've seen them play and win events before. Paris, do you know anybody on there that's won an event?
No, but so all right. Let me get to
Yeah, go
my
ahead,
thing.
rebuttal me. I
Right?
destroyed you in
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
one.
No, 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 you didn't. Because so Paris coming in, they was getting a lot of hate. They was always seen as the underdog in every game they played, no matter what it was. And they took some of the top teams to like game fives of like early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Kismet showing out, showing that he deserves to be where he was at on that team.
Where's Kismet now, though?
I mean, I ain't saying that he hasn't disappeared, but but here's the reverse psychology of this.
Mm-hmm.
So you was frying the beginning of the year. Yeah, you got in your head like halfway through the season.
Yeah.
But the pandemic hit. Your team wasn't playing great. Okay, you've got time to reset now because they didn't play the second to last event, if I remember correct. I think they was out for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, they played the second to last one. They didn't play the last one.
okay, so that's what it was. So you've had five plus weeks to like settle down, you know, kind of relax, get a lot of practice in. I think you see Paris coming out. They want to show that they deserve the spot they got this year, that they deserve to be above the Gorillas and the Surge. Not
Because
not knocking
they
Octane.
were for the most, yeah, for
Yeah,
the most part.
not knocking Octane or a Path. Like they are very great guys. I just think Seattle as a whole, with the roster changes, um, granted Octane would probably be a great coach to coach them to the win. I think you see this going to Game 5. That's what I actually have put down. Game 5 S and
Really?
D. I just think so. Here's the tough question: if Paris is gonna steal the respawn, which respawn is it gonna be? Right?
Domination.
Exactly.
And guess who's
The
one of the best domination teams? The Surge.
I
So
know.
it really depends, man. It's who shows up on.
On game day, yes.
Yeah.
It's I mean, but 3-2, I had Paris taking it in the game 5 at S&D. I think it's gonna go to around 11, game 5 for it all. The go to the next round.
Yep. It sounds good to me, man. I think that is all we have time for today. I would like to thank Red Platoon Gaming. We're both under this great org, veteran owned, and we will have our
We'll have all the
Discord
links.
and links below, and as well as I would like to thank some of the sponsors that I have individually, and I'm sure Clay will have some people that he would like to shout out. Um, but first off, for me, Fade Grips, they've been behind me since I started gaming. I know I don't have any sponsors on these videos yet, and hopefully we'll continue growing this series a little bit. I know we're gonna try to do one for Everyday Champs and have a little bit of analysis of the matches and going over them because nobody's really doing that right now. And besides that, man, Reptune Gaming and Fake Grips, I have a bunch of motocross sponsors, but this ain't the video to put those on.
Nope. Chalk that up. Get that out of here.
Clay, anybody you would like to thank, man?
No, it's the same people. Fade Grips, and I appreciate everything they do. Maybe towards the end of champs, maybe we'll do like a little giveaway get together
Yeah, we
with the
should.
grips. Um, for the people who tune in,
But
see the videos.
I
Maybe
feel
we can
you.
do a live at the end.
Yeah, yeah. I
But,
mean, I think we could transition to that anyways once we get a little bit of a following going because this is a new series. But feel free to leave a sub down below and make sure you like the video and give me some feedback in the comments. We're gonna work on making this the best series possible for the viewers, and that's about it. You guys, catch you next time.
and well, I guess one more thing, guys.
Yeah.
I, I hope us just talking about COD today isn't gonna that's just the hottest game right now going into the esports league. Um, just because of like the craziness that can explode. We
And it's
will
something that
be
we're
in the
passionate about.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will be in the future be bringing on special guests from different esports around the gaming community. We've got some great Rainbow Six Siege players in the works. Maybe try to get in here and talk about their series that's been happening. I ain't gonna release no names just yet,
Yeah.
but just be on the lookout, guys. This is we're gonna try to make this as large as we can, and we're gonna make it go far. And we appreciate everyone who can hit that sub button below and follow and put on the notification. But click the little bell. It's great.
All right, everybody. Well, we'll catch you next time, and hopefully, we'll see you soon.